The immense pressure being released over the course of the final battle alters weather patterns across the globe, as a supercell storm causes a drastic drop in global temperature. A cold draft blows through every corner of the world, as if it carries the prayers of those who want All Might to survive and save them from the calamity that has befallen them. In a symbolic way, the cold wind carries the prayers to Bakugo, who is about to cook up a storm by taking the battle to All for One. Bakugo and Deku share a glance and immediately initiate their attempt to save All Might. Despite the first inheritor of One for All, Kudo's warning about overexerting himself, Deku uses Gear Shift to send Bakugo blitzing towards All for One to rescue All Might. Shigaraki taunts Deku. He knows that All Might is gradually manifesting in Deku's psyche, like all the rest of the late users of One for All, which means the greatest hero is on the verge of passing away. However, carrying all the dreams and hopes of the believers, Bakugo lands a destructive blow on All for One, severing one of his arms in the impact, and rescues All Might. From blaming himself for his idol's retirement to rescuing him at his lowest, Bakugo has come full circle. The world recognizes Bakugo as the hero who saved All Might. In his mind's eye, All Might sees his former sidekick, Night Eye, who once predicted a tragic, horrendous end for the hero in his final battle. However, this time, All Might's mental projection of Night Eye shares that his foresight was altered by the heroics of the likes of Deku and Bakugo, champions of the future whom All Might has inspired. All Might has to pass on the torch to the younger generation, but that no longer implies that he has to lay down his life to do so. A tiny remnant of edge shot appears from Bakugo's body. Using his own body, the pro hero has mended the grievous injury Bakugo sustained while tanking Shigaraki's direct blow to his heart. However, as Bakugo thanks the pro hero for saving his life, Edge Shot reveals that it was Bakugo's own willpower and his explosion quirk that kept him alive, while Edge Shot held his body together. In his present condition, even moving around is immensely painful for Bakugo, let alone defending All Might from All for One. However, in his usual devil-may-care attitude, Bakugo doesn't let odds guide his judgment and remains as fearless and jubilant as ever. Then a paralyzed All Might requests Bakugo to approach him and transfers his arm's nanotech gauntlet, the last remains of Hercules' armor, onto Bakugo's armor. A quirkless All Might has nothing at his disposal that he can offer Bakugo and hopes the gauntlet will act as a splint on his arm. This gesture is immensely important, as it conveys All Might formally passing on his legacy to Bakugo, trusting him to uphold the ideals of heroism he inspired, like he did with Deku all those years ago. At this stage of Bakugo's life, and given the context behind the action, this transfer arguably holds more significance than All Might transferring One for All to Deku. This gesture by his idol brings the most honest, innocent smile to Bakugo's face. Inspired by All Might's trust in him, Bakugo pushes through his pain to chase after All for One, who considers Bakugo to be a mere pebble not worthy of his consideration, and tries to avoid engaging him. All for One knows that if the fight gets intense, he will have to use the rewind quirk to heal himself, which will de-age him more. All for One, who for so long thought everything was going according to plan, is frustrated at the fact that he feels himself no longer in control. Bakugo, whom he considered a pesky nuisance, catches up to him within an instant and delivers a fierce, explosive blow. Bakugo defiantly proclaims himself as the final boss All for One has to face, and he fully intends to fulfill the job previous wielders of One for All had set out to do, and that is to finish All for One for good. On the other hand, things seem to be under control at the other sites, and Deku prepares to launch Gear Shift for a final time to put his battle with Shigaraki to a decisive end. All for One tries to ignore Bakugo and rushes towards Shigaraki, as he needs to force his consciousness into his body to assume complete control, but he makes the mistake of undermining Bakugo, who relentlessly attacks and pursues him. Bakugo feels immense pain coursing through his body, but even at his breaking point, Bakugo grows more fierce and strong with every passing moment. Bakugo's parents, Mitsuki and Masaru, watch with a mix of fear, pride, and joy as their son defends the greatest savior of mankind by taking on his most fierce enemy with a smug smile on his face in a way to honor his idol. Things seem so bad for All for One that he starts confusing Bakugo with Kudo, the first inheritor of One for All, and relives one of his most tormenting memories when a dying Kudo had revealed to him about his younger brother, Yoichi's demise. Accepting the fact that he himself was responsible for Yoichi's death was a traumatic realization for All for One, from which he hasn't recovered, and it becomes clear that ghosts of his past are haunting him as the supervillain overlord mistakes Bakugo for a reincarnation of Kudo. And that's the end of this episode.